Welcome to this explainer. Expressing opinions, agreeing, and disagreeing all seem like incredibly simple things to do, right? Well, that is until we try to cross cultural borders. Suddenly, what feels completely natural and perfectly polite in one language can sound incredibly blunt or even confusingly passive in English. Today, we're going to unlock the exact phrases and frameworks you need to navigate these tricky conversations like a total pro.
Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap for today. We'll start with the art of opinions, look at giving your opinion, agreeing with others, and disagreeing politely. After that, we'll break down the two-step disagreement, and finally wrap up with some cultural communication nuances.
So, starting off with Section 1, the art of opinions.
Now, a core concept we really need to understand right out of the gate is that English relies heavily on hedging and softening language. To a non-native speaker, throwing in phrases like, I'm not sure, or perhaps, might kind of feel like a display of weakness, or just general uncertainty. But in professional English, this isn't weakness at all. It's actually how speakers structurally signal respect to the other person. To make this absolutely concrete, let me ask you a question. Which one of these do you think is better to stay healthy? Take a look at this classic healthy lifestyle debate, cycling versus running. When you want to kick off a discussion like this, you don't just demand an answer from someone. No way. You invite their perspective. You might use simple, engaging phrases like, can you give me your thoughts on cycling versus running? Or, how do you feel about this? See how that works? It immediately opens up the floor in a collaborative, super welcoming way.
Moving on to Section 2, giving your opinion.
Okay, so once you've actually been asked for your thoughts, or when you simply want to weigh in on that healthy lifestyle question yourself, how do you state your preference with the exact right level of confidence? Well, it's a bit like a dial. You can calibrate the strength of your opinion. A phrase like I think or in my opinion is your standard go-to baseline. But if you aren't entirely sure, just drop it to a weaker level. I feel that running might be hard on the knees. And if you are absolutely 100% certain, jump to strong. I'm convinced that cycling is the superior cardiovascular workout. You just adjust your intensity based on the situation and how confident you are.
Oh, and here's a quick pro tip on giving those opinions. You don't always have to change up your whole core phrase to add some power. You can literally just insert adverbs. Tacking on words like really or strongly to your standard phrases instantly upgrades their impact. Saying, I really think or I strongly believe shows serious conviction, but without sounding overly aggressive. It's a total game changer.
All right, Section 3, agreeing with others.
So this is the phase of the conversation where you graciously validate someone else's point of view. It builds rapport, it keeps the communication flowing smoothly. It's just good practice. And there are tons of ways to agree, right? From an enthusiastic absolutely to a more neutral kind of laid back that makes sense. But the absolutely crucial phrase here is, I agree up to a point, but. Man, this is an incredibly useful tool. When you're debating nuanced topics, like say, whether a morning run or an evening cycle is better for you, you often don't agree 100%. This specific phrase allows you to express partial agreement, and it beautifully sets you up to introduce your own perspective without completely shutting the other person down.
Section 4, disagreeing politely.
Now, this is arguably the core challenge for so many non-native English speakers. I mean, how do you push back and disagree with an idea without accidentally causing offense to the person who just shared it? Let's consider a brand new scenario to test this out. Which is a better way to improve mental health?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the clear contrast here. On one side, we have reading a good book in a cozy library. On the other, getting out and hiking in the scenic mountains. Just imagine, a colleague says, hiking is literally the only real way to clear your head. Well, if you're an avid reader, you might fundamentally disagree with that. But how you express that disagreement, that matters immensely.
If you directly translate a disagreement from languages like German or Spanish, you might end up saying something like, that's not right, or I completely disagree. Let me tell you, in an English-speaking environment, that lands very, very bluntly. Instead, native-like polite softeners are totally expected here. You want to reach for phrases like, I see your point, but. See what that does? It buys you immediate goodwill before you introduce your counterargument about the library being a better choice for you.
Next up, Section 5, the two-step disagreement.
So how do we guarantee we get this right every single time? Well, polite disagreement in English isn't just random. It actually follows a very specific and highly effective formula. Here are the 2 steps you absolutely must memorize. Step 1, acknowledge and soften. You really have to validate their perspective first. Step 2, offer a solution or alternative. If you skip step 1 and dive straight into your alternative, your tone immediately goes wrong and you just sound obstructive. But pairing your disagreement with a proposed alternative, That shows you're actually invested in moving the conversation forward, not just blocking their idea.
Let's look a little closer at those step 1 softening techniques. You can show understanding, you can offer a structural apology like, I'm sorry but I don't agree, or you can just signal uncertainty. I want to remind you here, signaling uncertainty or apologizing in this context is not you being weak. Not at all. You're simply using the structural code of English to show professional respect before you push back. It's a completely expected part of the dance.
And our final section, number 6, cultural communication nuances.
It is so vital to understand that what counts as polite behavior varies so dramatically across different cultures around the world. Because language doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? According to experts like Aaron Meyer, we have more confrontational cultures, think Israel, France, or Germany, where direct debate is seen as a positive, productive way to find the absolute best solution. On the flip side, we have harmony-prioritizing cultures like Japan or Indonesia, where protecting group harmony and saving face is paramount, making open disagreement highly inappropriate.
Because of these huge cultural differences, misunderstandings are super common. Consider this quote. In many Western business contexts, silence after a proposal reads as agreement or disengagement. If you come from a non-confrontational culture, you might use silence to politely signal that you disagree. But let me warn you, in a Western setting, that is a massive pitfall. They will just assume you agree, or honestly, worse, that you just don't care. You have to voice your concern, even if it's softly.
And hey, if you find voicing that concern stressful, here is a surprising and incredibly practical tip. Use self-distancing. Basically, if a debate gets heated or emotional, refer to the situation in the third person. Instead of saying, I disagree because I work hard, you say, this proposal doesn't match current market standards. It's a brilliant little trick. It helps you detach emotionally and remain highly professional while still delivering your pushback.
All right, we've covered a ton of ground today in this explainer. From finding your voice when giving an opinion, to softening a disagreement, to navigating those tricky global cultural nuances. So I want to leave you with this provocative question to chew on. How will you use the Acknowledge Plus alternative framework in your very next conversation? Seriously, try it out. Notice how it completely changes the dynamic. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep practicing.